Hi, this is Dr. Kate D, and I am going to review the recent report that came out of New York City just a few days ago that investigated 15 quote unquote med spas in the 5 boroughs and what the results of that were. I was kind of blown away by this. The data that came out of that report is way worse than anything I would have predicted. I don't think actually that this is an overall accurate portrayal of what med spas are in the country, but this is what's going on in New York City, at least among these 15 medical spas that were investigated. So first of all, the New York City Council put a press release out about this. The full report is in a PDF called Moving the Needle that we will have in the show notes. And there have been several articles in Gothamist and the New York Post. And so basically what they found was in every med spa, 100% of them, they were offering medical procedures without the legally required licensure and oversight, every single one of them. Failing to properly display their licenses, 93% of the spas didn't have their licenses up. No medical oversight during procedures, 73% of those spas had no medical oversight. And there are a couple of scary numbers in here. So 66% had chemical or fire safety violations. 60%, now this is a big one that I've talked about on the podcast before. 60% had no liability insurance, meaning if something bad happened there, there's no insurance for that. Now, all doctors have to have malpractice insurance. God forbid anything happens. You have a recourse, meaning you can sue them. There was a very famous case that we had on the podcast about Bia Ama, where she was scarred for life, almost died, and the illegal spa that treated her had no liability insurance, no malpractice. And so she couldn't even sue them because there was no money to even get to compensate her. Anyway, 53% had sanitation or hygiene issues. Ew. Okay. What are we dealing with? Nail salon? This is so gross. 46% had labeling issues with products being used. Now that's a very common problem, but that's really interesting. And then the last thing was 26% relied on completely unlicensed employees or employees where their license was expired. So this is just a really awful indictment of the med spa space in New York City. And really it's true of the entire country, but let me get into this because I think that my guess is that whoever was in charge of these investigations had these potentially 15 spas that were already reported. It has to be that people reported them. Because if you were to go, now in New York, if you've been there recently, there's a spa on every corner. It used to be like in the 80s when I was a teenager growing up there, there'd be a David's Cookies on every corner. And then, of course, eventually it was Starbucks on every corner. Now it's a med spa on every corner. And I can't imagine that they're all illegal. That makes no sense, right? But now 4 of the cases have already been adjudicated, meaning they already had their licenses taken away. And those were listed: Beauty Forever NY, Faces NYC Spa, Bellissima Hair Inc., and then Downtown City Spa. Now, the only one of those 4 that I could identify with 100% certainty, because there's a huge overlap in names of these spas. So if you look up Beauty Forever, there's too many. I don't really know which one it is. Faces NYC, there's one that I'm guessing it probably was, but I can't really tell. So Bellissima, same thing. Interestingly, it's a hair salon. Well, hair salons are not medical facilities. You can't just bring in a nurse or somebody or other to do injections in the back room and think that that's okay. That's not legal. Okay. But anyway, the Downtown City Spa, that was very clearly owned by, and it's very clear on the website, owned by a doctor. It's the only one I could find that was owned by a doctor, Dr. Spencer Colden. Now, interestingly, on this website, you can see, his history. He went to med school in Grenada. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but there's a reason why if you're an American, you can't get into med school in the States, you go elsewhere. On this website, it says that he's a physiatrist, meaning he's a physical medicine and rehabilitation doctor. Now, what do those guys do? If you get injured in, a sporting or a sports endeavor or on the job or whatever, and you're trying to learn how to walk again or do certain activities of daily living again, they will help you rehab. They're rehab doctors. Okay. Now, interestingly, his spa is open Monday through Sunday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., and Saturday and Sunday by appointment. The front desk is there, and they give hours Monday to Thursday, 11:30 to 5. And then it says medical appointments are available Friday from 4 to 8 p.m. So my guess is he's probably there. He probably does go to the spa, and he provides medical services every Friday afternoon from 4 to 8 p.m. And that refers to weight loss, pain management, and of all things, medical marijuana. It's kind of interesting. Now, on his website, they offer a lot of different services, but if you look at them, they're fake devices. I'm going to give you one example. It has a fat melting device that they call Perfect Shape Neo. And if you look at the pictures on the website, it is a knockoff of M-Sculpt Neo. I'm very familiar with that device because I own one. And that's a great device. Honestly, it's a great device. We're very happy with it. I honestly don't know anything about the Perfect Shape Neo other than my guess is it's Chinese knockoff. And I don't know if it's FDA approved, but I'm guessing probably not. There's a whole bunch of other kind of fake devices on the website. And in my opinion, there's just something that doesn't add up about that. So there are 11 cases still pending. The only other one that was in the New York Post article that was found out is a place called Sutton Wellness, NYC. And they were found to have a nurse in the back room injecting with no doctor's oversight, which, as we all know, is illegal. According to the article, Sutton Wellness has since hired a doctor. So I'm sure they're negotiating with the investigators to try to work out a deal so they don't get shut down. All the other spas were not mentioned in the articles because they're still being processed and adjudicated. So we don't know the outcomes of that. I think this is a very devastating report for the med spa industry in general. And I think that it really points out the need to make sure that the place you're going is legit. Okay. If it's a hair salon, do not go there. If it's a nail salon, do not go there. If there is no medical person in the place, absolutely do not go. Any real med spa has to be a medical facility. There has to be a doctor in charge, or again, a nurse practitioner in some states. But there has to be a medical person who knows how to practice medicine in charge and making sure that what's being done is okay and legit and safe and effective and not just going to take your money. So the best outcome is that if you go to one of these schlocky places like this, is you don't get harmed. Okay. But chances are you won't see great results because they're not giving you real products and they're not giving you real FDA approved treatments. And God forbid you get an infection or scarring or any other kind of injury because of these fake products and people pretending to be doctors. Check out the Medspa board website. We are actively taking applications for the legit med spas, and we are very much hoping to be able to give everybody out there a way of differentiating these horrible, dangerous, illegal spas from the really, really great ones that are doing great work out there. It is really hard to be part of an industry where, we actually really do care. Okay. I did another podcast. I don't know when that's going to be out, but I'm like 3 days past an RF microneedling and laser resurfacing treatment. It's not too bad. I'm still recovering a little bit. I'm still a little bit red, but it's not too bad. I really believe in these treatments. I think they're really great. And I'm not a giant beauty consumer. I'm not really out there trying to sell people on Botox or lasers or anything else. I just know what they've done for me and my patients. And I just want to make sure that if you are looking in to doing any of these procedures, you get a really safe, effective, awesome procedure that gives you awesome results. And just stay away from these places. They just want your money. So if you've been listening to the show, you know I've got stories for days about what goes on in med spas. I finally put them all in a book. It's called Medspa Mayhem. I wrote it because I got tired of hearing about people getting hurt by providers who have no business holding a syringe. You'll read about real patients, real nightmares, but more importantly, you'll know exactly what to look for when you walk into any med spa and what questions to ask. It's part expose, part survival guide, and it might just save your life. Medspa Mayhem will leave you informed, entertained, and a little shocked at what's really going on behind the business of the aesthetics industry. The link is in the episode description. Read it before you book your next appointment, because beauty should never come at the cost of your safety. Thanks for listening. If you found this helpful, do me a favor and share it with a friend who's considering any aesthetic treatments. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and drop a comment telling me your biggest takeaway. I actually read them all. Let's keep each other safe and elevate the standards in the med spa industry.